We're
Here, while
live.
you do that, what's going on, everybody, and welcome to the BK Nothing But Nets podcast. I am your host today, Dylan, also known as Nets Press, here with my main man, Gary. Gary, if you want to plug in your Twitter real quick, we'll get into this right away.
Yeah, you can follow me at 3D Box. I'm having some technical issues, so I may drop off if this doesn't improve and jump back on. But I sound okay, right?
Yeah, no, everything's perfectly fine. The screen is sharing, so we can
All
see
right.
the lottery sim.
All right, cool. All right.
All right, so
I
yeah,
told
everybody
you
knows.
full 2-round mock draft with trades, the whole thing.
Yep. So, yeah,
All
we're
right.
going to get right into it. We're going to do one lottery simulation, as always. So let's do it. We'll see where the Nets land specifically. We'll mock up some picks, some trades. We'll see how it works. So the Brooklyn Nets are selecting 7th. Oof. And Philly and San Antonio get 1 and 2. My fucking goodness. All right. Let's get into this.
The
I
last
already
time
know.
we did this on 422, the last time we did this, we also got 7. So
Yep, there we go.
we'll see how
Yeah,
it goes.
I already know a big trade that we're gonna do. So we'll get right into it.
Let me give me 1 second. I gotta adjust something real quick. All right, we're good.
That is a nasty order of picks. My God. That sucks. Watch, this is what's going to happen, though.
All right, let me get to it. All right, what do we? Where am I doing?
So if you scroll down just a bit, you're going to click Use in Mock Draft. Right above all the names of the teams. Yep, keep going up. Right there, Use in Mock. And then you're going to scroll down just a bit. You're going to click on NBA. If it's not clicked already, click on NBA, and then go down, and you're going to click on your big board.
So draft.
Yep, let's do it.
Let's go.
All right,
the Sixers are up,
and they're getting Cooper Flag. That would be Nets fans' worst nightmare. But
this would not be good.
Nope, not one bit. So
we don't need to explain this anymore, right? Cooper Flag and Dylan Harper. We don't need to explain this anymore.
Well, we're actually going to have to explain something because we're going to do a trade. The San Antonio Spurs are going to trade the 2nd overall pick for Giannis. We're going to do.
Okay.
Let's see. We're going to go Giannis to San Antonio, and if you want to click on trade partner, go to the Spurs. They should be at.
But I gotta go to Milwaukee. You mean?
Spurs right. Yeah. Gotta go to Milwaukee. They should have a 2nd in the 40s, or right there, 47. So what we're going to do is, and we can type this in as well if you. Give pick number 2 to them, and that's it because we're going to give future picks as well. So in the notes we're going to do. Let's see. We're going to do Devin Vassell. We're going to do Jeremy Sochan. And we're going to do Keldon Johnson. We'll do those 3 plus
and 4 ones.
Yeah, and 4 future firsts plus the 2nd overall pick. This allows San Antonio to keep a lottery pick as well, which is going to be very helpful for their building around Giannis, Fox, and Wemby. But yeah, overall, I mean, if you get the 2nd overall pick, realistically, they're one of the teams that don't need Dylan Harper. So for them to use that in a deal for Giannis, I think is huge. Milwaukee frees up $2.5 million. They get the expiring contract of Jeremy Sochan, which they'll probably extend. Keldon Johnson's on a 2-year deal, so they'll free up some money next year. I think overall this is a solid trade.
I want to just point something out. This is a trade demonstrates why we could never get Freak if anyone else is interested in him. This trade, you have Sochan, or you have Vassell, who's better than anyone on our team. And KJ, who's probably the 2nd best player, would be the 2nd best player on our team.
Yeah.
And 4 ones, including the number 2 overall pick. That is so much better than anything we could ever offer. So if anyone else is interested in Giannis, we're out because we simply don't have a package for him that can compete with this. I want people to be realistic on that. All right, you ready to do this?
Let's do it. So yeah, we're gonna do that trade finalized to Milwaukee. So Giannis heads to San Antonio in this one, and the Bucks end up getting the second overall pick, in which they're going to select Dylan Harper. This is an incredible start to their rebuild. They end up getting Devin Vassell as well, Jeremy Sochan. These are some big pieces. They also have a second-round pick, so that'll be helpful for them. But the main goal for them has to be young talent and draft capital. And I think San Antonio, especially if they land in the top 5, is something that you can definitely see Milwaukee trying to jump on. So with the third overall pick with Washington, this is where we're going to go Ace Bailey. I just think it's a great fit for them. And again, they're one of the few teams that I think Ace would be the third overall pick to. Being able to pair up Bilal Coulibaly and Ace is pretty much the perfect wing duo in terms of youth, with Ace being the high upside scoring option and Bilal being a very, very good defensive option. So I think that makes a ton of sense for them. They already have Jordan Poole. Who knows what they do with Corey Kispert this season, but they have Alex Sarr as well. So they got a lot of height to that team, a lot of versatility, and I definitely think Ace at 3 to Washington would be their selection.
Yeah. If the draft went like this would be good for us.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So you're telling me that 4 ones, including number 2 overall, Keldon Johnson, Sell, and Sochan, is better than what was?
I think the Bleacher Report mock trade was Nick Claxton, Keon Johnson, Noah Clowney, and 6 first-round picks.
So you're telling me first trade is better,
yeah, not even close. Charlotte at 4, no-brainer for me. This is VJ Edgecombe.
Yeah.
I just think, again, I'll beat this to a dead horse, especially for Charlotte. I think this is the perfect fit for him long-term, especially next to LaMelo, Brandon Miller, Mark Williams, who they're likely going to be keeping now that, he's not with the Lakers. Miles Bridges in that roster as well. So, I mean, that starting 5 is very interesting, very versatile, athletic, very solid defensively, a ton of upside in scoring. Definitely like what they would be going with there.
Run that starting 5 down again. It would be Ball.
LaMelo at the 1, VJ at the 2, Brandon Miller at the 3, Miles Bridges at the 4, and Mark Williams at the 5. I mean, that's a playing team year 1 to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially
Easy,
if LaMelo stays healthy.
If they stay healthy, that's a
the two-way upside of VJ is just through the roof to me. Defensively, especially, and I think that's something that they need within their guard positions. So, I think the scoring will come along very nicely as well. I don't know if he's ever going to be, the all-star 25 plus per game guy, but I can definitely see a scenario where he becomes one of the better two-way guards in the league. So, definitely would love the fit for them there.
We're on to the Utah Jazz at 5.
Yeah, and this is a tough pick because it seems like we keep getting them at 5 every single time, and I absolutely hate any scenario where they're not getting VJ or Ace. But to me, I really don't see the need for point guard for them unless if it was Dylan Harper, because you just can't pass up on him. They have Isaiah Collier, who's an incredible playmaker, not a very good scorer, but a very good playmaker. Keontae George still has that combo guard in him where he can score and play make. So I don't really think they need a guard. I'm more so thinking a backup big man, somebody that they can develop as an in case, if Walker Kessler at some point in time becomes a trade piece. I know that they're looking to extend him right now. John Collins is likely going to be traded this offseason. To me, I think they go Derek Queen here. I think they look for a more offensive big man to put alongside Walker Kessler, who is a primary defensive big man. So to me, go with the high upside offensive big man, somebody that, maybe he can play the 4 in the NBA, but realistically, they still have Larry Markkinen. So yeah, I like the fit for Derek Queen there at 5. Do I think he should be a top 5 pick? I'm not sure, but the upside on him offensively is very high. I mean, as you can see, they're very good finisher at the rim. He's already being compared in terms of ceiling to Alperen Sengun. But the defensive abilities are a bit of an issue. But if you can put him next to Walker Kessler and Larry Markkinen, I definitely think he'll be used to his full potential.
The pick I thought you were going to go with was Trey. So you say they go with the big man over the scorer here?
Yeah, I think so. I think Larry can handle the scoring load. They have some solid role players as well. They're going to try and probably move on from John Collins to get something in return. Maybe Jordan Clarkson gets moved as well. But I like the upside of Derek Queen and Walker Kessler together. Kind of matches perfectly together because Derek Queen's a bit small for a true five, but the offensive ability that he has is what Kessler doesn't have, and the defensive ability that Kessler has, Queen doesn't have. So I think it kind of matches up very nicely together.
New Orleans would be 6. Do they take trade? They're in an interesting spot. Trading Zion and in return, do they get a bunch of picks? Do they get players? What do they get back for Zion? Right now, let's assume Zion is gone because they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
What would they do at 6?
Yeah, I think I'm going to switch it up here. I'm going to actually go with Con Kneppel. I think they need a 2 guard, but I also think that he kind of matches up perfectly to what they need. I'm not sure if they go with another big man this year after selecting Missy last year from Baylor. But at 6'7", he can play the 2, he can play the 3. I think he fits really nicely with DeJounte once he's healthy. CJ McCollum is on an expiring contract. Maybe they look to move him for a big man. So to me, I can see him playing that 2-3 spot alongside Trey Murphy and Herb Jones. I definitely do think they're moving Zion, so they'll get a nice return for him as well. But I think Con Kneppel could be a really good fit for what New Orleans is looking to do long term.
I know where we're going to go with this. We're at 7. This would be we're going Fears. Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah, we're going to take Fears again. I think this is around the range of which he'll be, probably that like 6 through 9 range. And for Brooklyn, again, there's really no reason not to take him. He has the upside for the perimeter shooting. The percentages weren't too great in college, but again, who was he playing next to? He was taking some grenades of shots like that. That one goes in, but realistically, 9 times out of 10, that one's not. So the percentages weren't beautiful from 3, but I think there's still upside. I believe his advanced metrics showed that he could be a 36% three-point shooter in the NBA. It's still not the greatest, but it's definitely not horrible whatsoever. It's about average.
For a 19-year-old or whatever it is, that's pretty good, right? A lot of guys come in the league and they're not great shooters.
Yeah. But it's really the playmaking upside that he has, the downhill finishing at the rim, whether it be, like that through contact or being able to finish above the rim with a dunk. His athleticism is definitely there. His finishing ability is there. And he just has that Brooklyn swagger that would definitely be implemented right away with what they try and build. So I definitely love Fears there, and especially knowing that the Nets are in need of a long-term point guard. I think it's a perfect fit.
And I know it's not Harper, it's not Flag, but Net fans should be happy about this pick. If we got Fears here, we've got something to be excited about, right? We've got something we can start building with. This is a pick for the Nets. If the Nets got him, this is something we should be excited about.
Yeah, he's probably one of 4 picks that I'll actually be excited for, right? I've said it before, if they get Derek Queen or Malawak, to me, I'm not through the roof happy, just because, drafting a center in the NBA is kind of like when you're drafting an offensive lineman in the NFL, right? You need it. You know that, it's not a flashy pick, but you'll take it. So I'd be happy with one of those 2 bigs, but realistically, I'd be very excited to see, one of Flag, Harper, Fears, or Ace. I think those are kind of like the 4 gems that Brooklyn can try and get this year.
I wanted to bring this question up. We were discussing this on Breezy yesterday, and he wants your take. Leaf does. Dylan, you good with Cam Thomas being the oldest player on our roster next year?
I don't care what our roster is next year. Just no more than 20.
Claxton or Cam Johnson are traded.
No more than 20 wins next year, and I don't give a shit who's on the roster. I honestly could not care less.
They're not going to be there 2 years from now, so who cares, right?
Yeah. All I'm focused on is the 4 to 5 guys that we draft this year. I don't give a shit about anybody else on the team.
All right. We go to Toronto at 8.
Yeah, this is kind of hard to pass up if you're Toronto. They could go one of 2 routes. They could actually go one of 3 with the top 3 on the board that I have currently. But for me, I think that it would probably be smart to go with Malawak They really don't have a solidified backup big, and Maliwak is a guy that really isn't ready to start in year one, but has the upside to be a Mark Williams, but better. So to me, I think it's a really good fit. It's a really good spot for him. Um, you know, there's talks about them looking to trade RJ Barrett. So to me, they're going to be able to find that depth at the guard position very easily by moving him. So I think Maliwak there at 8 is a really good spot. I mean, we had him mocked at 5 at one point, but I definitely think there are some questions about his, upside versus his floor. The floor could be a bit scary just because of his inexperience with basketball. He's only been playing since I believe he was 16. So there's a lot of upside in him, but there's a lot of risk as well. So I think Toronto there at 8 makes a ton of sense.
All right. Number 9 is Houston.
Yeah, and again, kind of a tough spot. I have to think here. I mean, Trey Johnson's best available on the board by far. This is a guy who could very well go top 6. But we also saw Cam Thomas slip in the draft because he was mainly, just a scorer. Now, Trey Johnson is a bit better than Cam Thomas was in college in terms of an all-around game, but it could still become a question mark and a concern.
Interested in Trey's pick. I mean, Trey Johnson. You're also going to imagine Fred VanVleet is gone at this point, right? Like, they're not bringing him back. What do you think?
I believe he's on a team option, so I do think that they could opt out and free up that $40 million. I mean, at this point, you'd have to think it's Kevin Durant because they missed out on Giannis. But would they trade the 9th overall or the 10th overall pick for him? I don't know.
They're getting well. We were trading Giannis in this hypothetical, but if, like, let's say Giannis didn't, like, the first trade didn't happen, I would think they would trade this pick to get Giannis or any of the superstars, right? Like, they're close. I mean, I know they're probably, but they're getting close quickly. So I would imagine they're a superstar. I would think.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And like I said, I mean, Giannis being off the board now because we had to trade up to 2. I definitely think Houston would likely stick and pick here and wait more so to get KD after the draft. I don't see multiple superstars being traded on draft night, but to me, you kind of have to go with what you're kind of in need of. And to me, that's Yakachonis. It's not a bad pick. Like, it's not unrealistic to say he would go above Trey Johnson because at one point in time, he was a top 5 projected pick. So to me, I definitely can see Yakachonis being the pick here, especially with Reed Sheppard likely to be in a Kevin Durant package, who they just drafted last year to play point guard. I definitely think that Yakachonis could be a good replacement for that, a better fit simply just because he's 6'6". He can play make, he can score, he could space the floor, he can rebound very well for his position. So to me, I definitely don't see a reason as to why a team may not, select him over Trey Johnson, especially with Houston being, right there and ready to win now. Yakachonis at 9 to me is a really good pick.
They could go any number of ways.
Yeah, I mean, again, there is a world where Trey Johnson falls. To me, Portland isn't a team that needs a guard, but is there a team that maybe trades up for a Trey Johnson? We could look into that because Portland also doesn't have an additional pick this year. So maybe, let's look into the trade.
You want to look into that? Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Maybe a team does want Trey Johnson. I don't see OKC being that team. I don't see Orlando. I mean, I could see San Antonio moving up.
Can we get up there? Can we give them 19 and
I wouldn't move up for Trey Johnson after taking Jeremiah Fears. But I don't mind.
They wouldn't take. They wouldn't want Cam Johnson.
Yeah, I don't mind moving up here with. Let's do San Antonio. We'll give up 14 in that second round pick to Portland for 10. I think that's a solid move up. It gives Portland an additional pick.
And then 38. Yeah.
Let's see. Let me make
He
sure
is
that
right.
that's right. Give 14 to Portland and give 10 to San Antonio.
Wait, did I mess that up? Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, there we go.
There you
So it's
go.
a 4-pick move back, and they get an early second-round pick as well. I think the guy that they're looking for should be there at 14 potentially. If not, there's a secondary option that I also like for them. But yeah, I don't hate that move up at all. Especially with them going for Giannis, they really don't need the picks at this point. They're looking to contend, so why not go ahead and grab a high upside player in Trey Johnson? You keep him in Texas, especially knowing that he's fallen out of the top 8, which is where he's projected. I definitely don't hate this move for them at all.
And just talk on Trey Johnson a little bit. If the Nets
Yeah, I mean,
draft outside the top 5 and Fierce is gone, is this a realistic pick for the Nets?
I would absolutely hate it. This is the one pick in the draft that I would absolutely
I kind of
hate.
agree with you.
Like, not one single reason I would be happy with it. If we didn't have Cam Thomas and we had, a solidified potential star at point guard or at center, then okay, I understand going to grab, a high upside scorer. But when you have Cam Thomas currently, to me, there's two needs. It's point guard and it's big man. And if you miss out on, you know, flag or ace, it has to be point guard or big man. So to me, Trey Johnson, I would be absolutely upset with. He is the one pick in the top 10 that I would actually really be disappointed in. I actually much rather prefer Con Kneppel over Trey Johnson, simply because Kneppel has that Klay Thompson like upside where he can play defense at a high caliber. He can space the floor at a high caliber, especially efficiency wise. And he's just a winning player. So to me, Trey Johnson's the one guy in this draft, especially in the top 10, that I would be extremely angry if Brooklyn selected.
If they did trade for Trey Johnson, then you could basically say goodbye to Cam Thomas, right? I mean, Cam Thomas would shortly there be shipped out if you could move him.
Yeah, I think they would bring him back on a team-friendly deal, a tradable contract that they,
Play
use.
both of them together. God dang, yeah.
I mean, you could.
Yeah, I mean,
it won't work, but you could.
That it would just be a mess defensively and offensively. That would be a mess.
It would be horrible.
Yeah, I guess you would put Trey Johnson, who's 6'6", you put him at the 3 and kind of have him play the 3, or would you have him play the point? It's not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to work with him and Cam Thomas.
Lou, it's not my mock drafts. It's Sean Marks' ability to lose games and build a losing roster. Dallas at 11 is interesting here because they're a team that, like I've said before, they're contending next year. They have AD. They as long as Kyrie either opts in or re-signs, he'll be back there. He's coming off of the torn ACL, so he'll be out until probably late December, maybe mid-January. They still have Klay Thompson, PJ Washington. They've got guys on the roster, so they should be in all right shape. To me, going with a high upside two-way wing is something that I think they would look into very much so. And it could be a little early for him, but I'm going to have them take Carter Bryant here at 11.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the stats don't show any love for him, but the upside on him is very, very high. So I could definitely expect them to take him.
All right, going on to 12, we're up to the Bulls at 12. The Bulls are perpetually in hell. Who do they take?
Yeah, and again, this is kind of a rough spot because Derek Queen's off the board, who's, somebody that I usually like them taking. I just saw today that, Chicago is looking to bring back Josh Giddey. They're ranging him at a $100 million contract, so about $25 million a year. He is restricted, so they do have the rights to match him. I think they would go as high as $27.5 million. And I don't think the Nets would go over $27.5 million as well. So I think he'll be back in Chicago next season, which means I don't have
him off the board.
Yeah, so I'm not going to have them go Igor. They are looking to move off of Patrick Williams, so there is a world where they go with a power forward position. But again, I'm thinking of switching it up here. I'm just not sure how I want to. They could go Colin Murray-Boyles, but they're looking to move off of Vucevic, so we really don't know if they have a big man. I don't hate Asa Newell here, just because he's 6'11". He could play the 5 if needed, but primarily you would want him at the 4. They could go Noah Sengu as well. I don't think Thomas Sorber goes this high. So to me, yeah, let's go with Asa Newell here. he could go lottery. He's one of those guys that could be as high as 11, as low as 17. There's really no specific range where he could be specified at. Like there's no guaranteed pick for him just yet. So I think he could be in that 11 through 17 range, and why not grab him at 12? He's got the height, he's got the versatility. A very solid Pat Williams replacement. He can defend a little bit. Has to put on a bit of weight, but as you can see, they're very athletic for his size. Is able to put the ball on the floor and finish at the rim. The floor spacing needs a bit of improvement in terms of his three ball, but he does have a post game, which is nice as well. So I definitely think it's a good upside pick for them, especially if they are to get Giddey back.
All right, we're on to Atlanta at 13.
Yeah, and this is where I'm going to have Igor Demin go. I do think Trae Young is on the move. I just don't know where. I still think it's Orlando. Maybe it's Toronto, but I do think that Igor Demin could be a really solid replacement for him long term. At 6'8", 6'9".
This is the guy that I thought. Yeah, I thought he should have stayed in college and played with the Bansa. He's going to be a late lottery pick or early, not lottery pick. I know next year's this isn't working for me right now. Yeah, I know next year's draft is loaded, but if he came back and he played with the Bansa and put up ridiculous numbers, is this a guy? Because he was considered a top 10 pick at one point. In your opinion, is this a guy that should have gone back to school?
For offensive scoring reasons, yes. But again, when you're playing next to the Bansta, I don't know if you really are able to improve your scoring ability because he's going to be taking on the heavy scoring load. So I don't mind him staying in the draft this year. I think he still has Nikola Topic, Josh Giddey type of comparisons to him. With the height and the playmaking that he brings, he showed an improvement in terms of scoring and 3-point shot making in the tournament and during conference play. So I think that's something that'll be able to to be figured out and worked on within the NBA.
So we close out the lottery here. Portland's back on the clock. They made the trade with San Antonio.
Yeah, and I mean, this is a steal. This is a guy who could very well go top 10. I have them going Colin Murray-Boyles, whether that was at 10 or whether it was at 14. I think this is a perfect fit for them. Just a defensive bully down low at the 4. He needs to get a bit better with his floor spacing, but he's very efficient within the post, very good rebounder, and a high caliber defender. And I think that's kind of what they need. They got to steer away from going guards. So I think why not just take the best defender outside of Flag and Malawak.
We move on to Oklahoma City. It's the first round pick via Miami. This is interesting. I want to see what you do with this pick.
Yeah, I'm going to have them go, let's see, scroll down a bit on the list as well for available players. As of right now, I have them going Nolan Traore, or I'm sorry, Noah Osangwu. Like they could go Rasheer Fleming this high, realistically. I don't hate that for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, let's try and keep it as realistic as possible. They're a team that's looking to win now. So why not go grab a guy who's played 3 years in college and has shown really high upside? He's also got that 7'4", 7'5" wingspan, brings the height, versatility, the floor spacing. This is a guy who's just an absolute menace on both ends of the floor. I mean, at 6'9", that is one of the most fluid 3-point shooting mechanics you'll see out of a kid coming out of college. So to me, this is just the perfect pick. He's extremely athletic, very good defensively. He's got a really good frame to him as well. And especially if they are a team that's looking at a Giannis or a KD, I think this is an absolutely incredible fit for them to have as a guy coming off of the bench to give you stellar minutes, especially come playoff time. I do think he could be a guy that is looked at as a playoff riser. But yeah, I mean, at 6'9", that shooting form is ridiculous to have that. That is fluid. There is nothing wrong with that whatsoever. So I absolutely love the fit there for OKC. I try and get him mocked to the Nets as much as possible, but realistically, he is probably the only upperclassman in this draft class that I could see going in that top 15 range. And why not OKC, especially if they miss out on the 76ers pick?
We go to Orlando at 16.
Yeah, and to me, I would stay away from guards as much as possible. But if this kid's on the board, you kind of have to take him. He has that C.J. McCollum, Tyrese Maxey like style to his game. I think they go Jace Richardson here. They have an additional first round pick at 25. I do think they can find a wing there. Like a Walter Clayton or a Yaxel Lendeborg or somebody of that
Hang
nature.
on
So
one second. Hang on one second. I got it. Okay, I'm good. All right, go ahead.
yeah.
So I'm having some technical difficulties. Say, all right. You said they're going Jace Richards at 16.
Yeah, I think that's a really good fit for them. He has that defensive ability that Orlando loves, but he also has the floor spacing in which they're desperately in need of. So to me, this is a really good fit for them if he's able to fall to 16. I mean, this is a guy who could likely go top 12 as well, but in terms of fit, I think that this is by far one of the best places that he could end up. I personally don't see him as a lottery talent, but there are some teams that see his upside as lottery talent. So in this one, we're going to have him fall to 16. He's the second guy, or probably the third guy that we're really having fall. Trey Johnson, Colin Murray Boyles, and him now. But yeah, I mean, I think it's realistic for some of these guys to fall, especially with some of these other teams' needs. So Jace Richardson at 16 to me is a great pick.
All right. Minnesota at 17. Originally, I thought there was no way they're going to bring Randall back. He's playing well in the playoffs, which he never does. Do you think they bring Randall back, and what do they do at 17?
I do think they bring him back because even if he shits himself at some point in time, he could be used as a trade piece. So to me, I think they bring him back. But for me here, I'm actually going to have Brooklyn trade up. They have multiple picks. So we're going to give up 26 and that second round pick for 17. Kind of just gives Minnesota a bit more to work with. Who knows if Naz Reid comes back. But to me, 26 and 35, could it work? Yes. I do think that the Nets would have to throw in an additional pick to move up 9 spots in terms of a future draft capital, especially because Minnesota really doesn't have any. So for this,
we'll put a future pick. Yeah.
Yeah, the Nets can throw in a future pick, whether that's the 2027 swap with the Rockets, which we have the worst pick for, or if it's the Philly top 8 pick protected, whatever that pick may be, as long as it's not, a Nets unprotected pick, I really don't care. But I definitely can see Minnesota wanting to move back so this way they can, gain some valuable players in this year's draft to fill out the rest of the roster because they are a second apron team as well. So they are going to have a bit of a problem bringing back guys and bringing in new guys as well. So to me, why not go and get 3 young guys who could be, plug in right away caliber players and also, gain an additional pick so this way you can make moves later on.
And I think I know what we're doing here, but does
this is going to be Sorber, and the reason why I'm pinning Minnesota as a team to potentially be a Nets trade partner is, like I said, one, more draft picks in this year's class is just great for any team that's in it. Minnesota especially, they just took down the Lakers. They have Rudy Gobert. They have Julius Randle. If he comes back next season, they have Ant. But realistically, Mike Conley's getting a bit older. Naz Reid likely isn't going to be able to come back. They have Jalen McDaniels, so they have their wing. But being able to fill out the rest of the roster is definitely something that you are looking to do if you're Minnesota. And you realistically can't do that because you don't have you're kind of restricted in free agency to bring in new guys. So why not go ahead and draft 2 or 3 of them? I think that's kind of the game plan there.
So far, we're doing good. So far, we got Fears and Sorber.
Yeah.
How should Net fans feel about that?
I think you should be ecstatic. I mean, the problem is, do I think Sorber should be up as high as 17? Maybe not, but you got Washington up next who could go one of 2 routes, point guard or center. And to me, he's gone if he's there at 18. So why get cucked, 1 pick away from the guy that you want when you can just trade up 2 spots? I think that's a really smart move for Brooklyn, especially if it means potentially Nick Claxton being traded, who I think is definitely getting traded now. But, I don't want to jump to conclusions, but I think the Lakers are the team that does it and gets it done. I don't see how they don't after what they just went through with Rudy Gobert last night. So I think the Lakers and Nick Claxton is now a definite.
Yeah, that what Rudy did to him specifically last night.
It should be illegal.
Yeah, that's a crime in Italy, and it demonstrates exactly
what
the Lakers' flaw is. Yeah, that was
that was fucked up. But yeah, so we got the Wizards back on the board, and I think again this is a great fit for them at 18, at 18, and that's Nolan Traore. If you can land Traore and an Ace, those are two incredibly high upside players.
Yeah.
I think why not at that point, right? You go ahead and grab the highest upside players on the board to fill out with the rest of the young roster that you have in Sarr, Bilal, Carrington, who can play the two. Hopefully at some point in time they look to move off of Jordan Poole, but I definitely see a nice young core there if they're able to bring in Traore, Carrington, Bilal, Sarr, and Ace. That's definitely a fun and exciting young team to build around for a couple of years.
So we're back up at 19. Sengwe, Saraf, McNeely are all on the board. Do we go best available? I could see any of these three guys being taken. What are your thoughts here for us at 19?
Yeah, I absolutely love Sengun here. We really don't get him mocked to Brooklyn very often. He's a guy that sometimes we have going to Orlando at 15 or 16, wherever they are. Sometimes even OKC at 15 or 16, wherever they are. San Antonio sometimes at 14. But this is a guy who's got a lot of versatility to his game. He showed a ton of upside and progression in terms of his floor spacing as a three-point shooter. Very, very lengthy player, can put the ball on the floor as well. And again, a very fluid shot for a guy who's just 18, 19 years old. Can finish at the rim, can defend at a high caliber as well. Again, maybe needs to put on a little bit of weight, but definitely a player that Jordi Fernandez would love to have. He plays on both ends of the floor, and he gives 110% at all times. So to me, I think this is a guy who you can mold into a high upside prospect. And again, he falls in that range of players who could go as high as 13, but as low as 20. So to me, if he's on the board there at 19 and you have the two positions of need that you've already drafted, why not take him?
If this was the scenario where you had the point guard and the big gone and he fell, I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? Like you're taking him at 19.
So how I see it is if you're missing out on Flag and Ace and Harper, you're going point guard and you're going center, whether that's your first pick or your second pick, right? So, let's just say you go Mallow Walker Queen at 7 rather than Fears, which we did this time. Then you're looking at Nolan Traore at 19. And then after that, you're looking, right? Because Brooklyn is in a position where they are so bad that they can just draft best available. And to me, that starts after your first two picks. I think realistically with the first two picks, you need to grab best available high upside fit. And that is point guard and center. So whatever the order it is, I think that should be the first two picks. And then you just go best available with your remaining picks through the draft.
Miami is up at 20.
Yeah, I think this is one of two picks. I mean, really one of three. I think Saraf is best available on the board. Personally, this is a guy who could very well go top 18. He can play the 1, he can play the 2. Realistically, where do they see Tyler Hero long term? Is he a 2? Do they mold him into the next Devin Booker like player who can play the 1? They kind of did that a bit this year. Liam McNeely is a good fit, but it depends on what they're doing. They're a team that could be in the running for Kevin Durant this offseason as well, with contracts like Andrew Wiggins, Terry Rozier, Duncan Robinson. They have youth like Jaime Jaquez, Nikola Jovic. They're a bit underwhelming in terms of draft capital to trade, but they do have youth that could be promising for Phoenix if they do look to move Kevin Durant. So, I'm between Saraf and McNeely. McNeely is a guy who I'm not high on whatsoever, but people do have him projected in the top 16 at times. For me, though, I'm going to stick with my gut and say Ben Saraf. I think McNeely's efficiency, injuries this season, and the way that he played in the tournament, I think it was really bad. So I got him falling in this one. So Ben Saraf, combo guard, very high caliber playmaker, can space the floor from 3, very solid offensive game. I think that's a really good fit for what Miami needs.
At 21, Utah is back on the clock.
Again, a team that can.
We had him taking Queen at 5. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's go McNeely here. I don't think he falls any further. I think they need a good floor spacer as well. And again, like I said, the efficiencies was an issue. The injuries was an issue this past season at UConn. But I think that they could mold him into a very solid three-point shooter. And he also fits the description of a Utah Jazz player. So why
He
not get
does.
him there at
He
21?
looks like a Utah Jazz player.
Yeah,
He does.
he looks like he could be a one. But yeah,
all right.
why not go with him there?
Atlanta. Is this their second? Did we have him pick already at 13?
We did. We had them take Igor Demon.
Oh, Igor Demon. You're right. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna switch it up here a bit. I'm gonna have Danny Wolf fall. We're gonna go with Juwan Beringer, the French big man. And the reason for that is because they are saying that he is rising up draft boards left and right. I believe Tankathon actually has him as high as 19 to Brooklyn. I don't agree with it whatsoever. He's only 6'9", 6'10", but he does have upside as a defensive big man in this league. So, oh yeah, this is the old guy again.
Yeah.
Yeah,
why are you talking? I want to see highlights. Yeah.
Yeah, I like his fit here for Atlanta as a backup big man behind Onyeka Okongwu, somebody that they can mold into, that position and rotational piece. I don't know if I see him as a starter in the near future, but a guy to put it, on the floor off the bench is definitely something that I could see for him. He's a floor runner. He finishes at the rim, and we're back to the old guy again. But
enough of the old guy.
Yeah, no, the defensive upside for him is very much so there. He's got a ton of versatility, so why not take him there at 22 before a team like Indiana or somebody else does?
All right, Indiana at 23.
Yeah, and this is where I'll have Danny Wolf go, especially with the possibility of them missing out on Miles Turner this offseason, who may potentially leave. I think this is a perfect replacement for him. He doesn't have the versatility and shot blocking ability that Turner has, but in terms of an offensive point guard an offensive center who can rebound at a high caliber and who can play make at a high caliber, I think that's something that could be very interesting for Tyrese Halliburton, who really is the playmaker of the team. There's really not many other players on that team that does what he does. So bringing in a guy that could take that playmaking load off of him and kind of open him up for catch and shoot threes, which is Halliburton's game, I think that's definitely something that could be beneficial for them long term. So Wolf is a guy that you can plug in immediately as a starting big in this league. He's played 3 years in college. He's NBA ready. And I definitely think that it's a perfect fit for a team who's looking to contend again next season.
We go back to OKC, who already has Fleming. So they already addressed the power forward position. What do they do here? I mean, they're obviously sitting in the catbird seat. They're maybe the best roster in the NBA. This is their second first-round pick. They already got Fleming at 15, which is great value. They're in really great shape. I mean, to me, they go best player available. But what do you think?
Yeah, how do you not take Walter Clayton here if you're OKC? To me, they need guys who are immediate plug-in and play caliber players, guys who can be playoff risers. And again, when you're a team that's contending, especially at the level that OKC is, which is Western Conference Finals or Finals appearance every year, or it's considered a bust of a season, why not go ahead and grab guys who are just ready to play, are able to knock down those clutch shots, who are able to, have a winning mentality and be plugged into a winning team right away. And I think Walter Clayton's one of those guys. Personally for me, I'm not a big fan of drafting guys who are juniors and seniors just because the upside on them isn't as high. But for a team who's looking to contend and who already has their star players and Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, SGA, they really don't need to be looking at upside anymore. So for me, if OKC's smart and they're looking to act properly, go ahead and grab the best upperclassmen available who can be plugged in immediately. If they walk away with Rasheer Fleming and Walter Clayton, that's an A+ draft for them. So I absolutely love that pick for them at 24.
25, Orlando is back up. They already got Jace Richards at 16. This is a pick that comes to them via Denver.
Yeah, we're going to have them go Nick Clifford here. Again, a guy who could play the 1, the 2, the 3. Very high upside in terms of, being a high caliber role player in this league. Again, a 4-year guy. They already drafted a youthful point guard who has upside. Why not go with a guy that you can immediately plug in off the bench as a key contributor on the offensive and defensive end? Plays a very Orlando Magic-like style of basketball where He can defend at a high caliber for his size and for his position, but he also brings that much needed floor spacing that Orlando has lacked over the past 2 years as well. So if they can walk away with Jace Richardson and Nick Clifford, I definitely think they fix some of those, needs that they were looking for in terms of floor spacing.
Minnesota's up with our pick. Remember, this is the pick that we traded to get Sorber.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to me, this has to be Yaxel Lindebord. Again, a team that's looking to contend, a team that's potentially losing Naz Reid because they can't financially, bring him back. This could be the perfect replacement. It's not official whether or not he's going to be in this
a lot of
year's
people
draft.
playing at UAB. Not people may not be overly familiar with him. What do we need to know about Yaxel Lindebord?
He does everything. I mean, watch the clips for 2 minutes. This guy can make at a high caliber. He can defend at a high caliber. He can rebound at a high caliber. He's athletic. He's able to finish above the rim. He can space the floor and shoot a three. He does everything very efficiently. This is a guy who really could be one of the premier role players in this year's draft class. And for a team like Minnesota, who's potentially losing Naz Reid for nothing, this is a perfect replacement for him long term. And especially if you can get him at 26, that's a steal. I mean, to me, he could go as high as 20 if he declares for the draft. But I absolutely love his all-around game. You can see the numbers are there. His last 2 games of college basketball, he put up a triple-double and a borderline triple-double, one of which was a 20 and 20, or I'm sorry, a 30 and 20 game. He had 30 plus points, 20 plus rebounds. This is a guy that does it all. So for me, with Minnesota, especially, after just knocking down the Lakers, being a team that's looking to contend, this is a perfect fit for them.
And now we're back up with our last. This is our last pick, right? Because we traded 36. Yeah, this is our last pick. So far, we got Fears, Sorber, and Asengwe. We traded up to 17 to get Sorber.
Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have gotten Yaxel here because I do think it's smart when you are bringing in 4 rookies, one of them to be an upperclassman to kind of be able to play immediately and see what they've got. But in this case, keep going with youth. And to me, that's Will Riley. This could be the Cam Johnson replacement long term. Very, very similar game. Very solid floor spacer, can put the ball on the floor, kind of similar to Trey Murphy. Doesn't have the athleticism of Trey Murphy, but can still finish above the rim. Very solid defensively. Could be one of those, 3-and-D guys long term that fits really well for Brooklyn. So I like Will Riley here at 27.
I wanted to ask you, you said, you want an upperclassman and a Cam Thomas replacement. I feel Cam Jones fills both of those. Why Riley over Cam Jones?
I'm looking more so at a Cam Johnson replacement.
Cam Johnson replacement. Okay,
yeah.
Cam Thomas. Okay.
To me, the shooting guard position is something that Cam Thomas has solidified for next season. Will Riley can play the backup too if needed. So
you saying Riley's more a 3 than a 2?
For his height, yes.
Yeah.
For his NBA body, is he ready to play the 3 long term? Maybe not just yet. So kind of mixing him at the 2 and the 3 could be beneficial for him to start his career until he puts on a bit of weight. I mean, Cam Johnson had a very similar build in college. He was a very skinny, small forward. But to me, Riley put on a little bit of weight and muscle. I definitely think that he could be a full-time 3 at some point. So, kind of mix him in at both. But the catch and shoot ability, the ability to put the ball on the floor and create a mid-range shot, the finishing at the rim, the athleticism that he brings, the defensive ability that he brings, I really do think that this could be a Cam Johnson, Trey Murphy-like player. Maybe not as high upside as Trey Murphy, but definitely can be a high-caliber role player similar to what Cam Johnson is. So I definitely don't hate that, especially if he's there at 27. He could go as high as 20 in my books, but getting him at 27 is definitely great value.
All right, so I just want to recap this for us. So our draft would be Fears at 7, Sorber at 17, and Asengwe at 19, Will Riley at 27. So Fears, Sorber, Asengwe, Riley. Give it a grade and kind of assess how we did.
Yeah, I mean, if you're giving a realistic grade, Brooklyn this season should have been a top 3 pick, guaranteed almost, and they weren't. So automatically that takes them out of the A running for me. Being able to land Fears and Sorber, I think, are A caliber grades. You know, a Sengu I'd give like a B to, just because you really don't know what the upside is on him just yet, but he still has that upside that needs to be tapped into. And Will Riley's great value. I'd give that a B plus. Like overall, I'd probably give the draft class a B plus. You know, like I said, I don't think I can give it an A because you missed out on the top 3, which is kind of self harm, knowing that they didn't do what was necessary to get to that point. But in terms of a draft grade, I think this is at least a B plus.
I would be happy with this. I'm content with this. I wanted to show the importance of the draft class. If Fears was in last year's draft class,
he goes top 3. I mean, if you're really,
he goes top 3 for sure. Does he go?
No, to me, if you're redoing last year's draft class and adding Fears, it would be Castle, Sar, and then Fears. I would drop Zachariah Ricochet out of the top 3 because I still don't think he should have been top 3. I personally thought Stephon Castle should have gone number 1 last year, and Sar went number 2. So to me, if I had to pick, you know, I would put Fears above Zachariah Ricochet.
All right. I'm happy with this draft. Let's move on. We're done. So let's move on to Boston at 28. We'll finish out the first round and move to the second. All right. I think this makes Boston at 28. What do they do at 28?
Yeah, there's a big question mark in Boston on who they have to trade, right? Are they looking to move off of Porzingis, or are they looking to move off of Jrue Holiday? They're hitting that second apron where they're starting to get penalized very heavily. To me, I think Jrue Holiday's the guy to move. So why not go ahead and grab his replacement in LeBaron Filan? I think that
I was going the other way. I thought they were going to move Porzingis and draft.
Yeah, see, I think they're going to keep
Porzingis.
He's too important to them because of the lack of size that they have. And realistically, how many times in life are you going to see a 7-1 guy who can put the ball on the floor and hit a post fadeaway mid-range shot, and who can space the floor and hit a catch and shoot 3, right? There's really not many of them out there. So to me, I think they're going to value him a bit more. You know, the injuries, it becomes an issue at times, but when he's available come playoff time, they're unbeatable. So to me, why not go ahead and grab that backup point guard who's a high defensive caliber player, can, you know, finish above the rim, can space the floor. He does a little bit of everything, but it's really his defense that reminds me of like a Jrue Holiday like player. So why not go ahead and grab his replacement long term?
There you go. We've had him falling out of the first round. I definitely see him going in the first round. So I think this makes a lot of sense. 29, Phoenix is up with Cleveland's pick.
Yeah, and again, this is a tough spot. What the hell are they going to do, right? Like, where's KD going? What's the package looking like? If the Spurs are the team that gets Giannis, which I do think has an incredible chance of getting him, I believe they have 36 or 37 picks over the next 7 years. Like, how do you not go all in for Giannis when you have Fox and Wemby? Not to mention Wemby and Giannis together is probably one of the most unstoppable duos of all time without it even touching the floor yet. So for me, you're looking at Phoenix now, who has likely taken the Rockets offer, right? And I kind of went over what a Rockets trade could look like for Kevin Durant. Let's see. I'm going to do it again real quickly just so this way we can kind of get a better picture of it. So I'm just pulling that up right now. Let's see. Phoenix and Houston. Realistically, KD's making that like $54 million on an expiring deal. So you would have to think Jalen Green, Reed Shepherd, Cam Whitmore. Is that the deal that gets it done?
That's a pretty decent deal right there. That's a solid package right there.
Yeah. I mean, the Rockets would still have to give up a little bit of money to get that deal done. So why not add in Jabari Smith? Maybe the Suns move Royce O'Neal along in that deal to give more depth to. Let's see, does that work financially? It still doesn't. Phoenix would Oh, it does. It's just there's some limitations on Phoenix because of them being above the second apron. But kind of like a similar deal that you can see, right? So realistically, their main pieces coming back would probably be Jalen Green, Reed Shepherd, and Cam Whitmore, right? I mean, maybe let's take off Cam Whitmore and see if it works. Does that get it done?
To me, Cam Whitmore is an important part of that trade. Like, I think Cam Whitmore is a guy with a lot of upside. Like,
yeah. Either way, Jalen Green and Reed Shepherd are the two focal points of that of that trade, right? So realistically, you know, even though I don't agree with Jalen Green being in that package because I think it hurts Devin Booker and what the Suns are trying to do and by retooling around him, I definitely see Jalen Green being a trade piece for them. But realistically, they're getting 2 guards, right? So they don't have to look in the guard direction. They would have Jalen Green and Bradley Beal, who they would be looking to move off of. That's 80+ million in contracts right there that they could be moving to fill out the rest of the roster around Devin Booker, Reed Shepherd, potentially Jabari Smith, Cam Whitmore, whoever that may be. So to me, you're looking at a wing or a big here. To me, though, Hugo Gonzalez probably has the best upside of anybody on the board. And I think he'd be a very solid fit next to Devin Booker at 6'6". He can play the 3. Very good floor spacer. I definitely think that this is a pick here that makes a ton of sense for Phoenix. He was going projected as high as in the 20s, early 20s, late teens at the beginning of the season, but definitely had a bit of a drop off in terms of production overseas. As you can see here, can finish through contact at the rim, but it's his floor spacing that definitely is something to keep an eye on. So I think that at 29, this is good value for Phoenix.
All right, we'll close out the first round. Oh, San Antonio's back up, right?
No, I believe this is the Clippers.
No. Oh, Clippers. Yeah, Clippers with Oklahoma City's pick. Yeah.
Yeah, and to me, this is a no-brainer for them. Get Cam Jones off the board. Like, talent-wise, he should be in the top 25. But of course, again, it's that seniority, right? When you have, older players on the board, it depends on what a team that's contending is looking for, right? Are they looking for a guy they can plug in immediately, or are they looking for a guy who can have some upside and kind of change the direction and timeline of what you're doing? But for the Clippers, they're playing absolutely incredible. They're having one of the best series in the NBA playoffs so far this year against Denver. I think Cam Jones could be a very good scorer off the bench for them. So I like that fit for him.
Minnesota's back up with the first pick in the second round. This is a pick that comes from Utah.
Yeah. Yep. And it comes down to 2 options again. Do they go with the backup big man behind Rudy, or do they go with more wing depth? I think, how do you pass up on Addo Thiaro? If you can get Thiaro and Yaxel, those are 2 high-caliber role players to put along a contending team in Minnesota. And again, both fit the brand of basketball that Minnesota plays with, right? A very...
Thiaro's an upperclassman, so you can plug and play him a little bit more. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and to me, he kind of just, him and Yaxel have that Minnesota Timberwolves caliber style of play, right? Both very pest-like defensively, both can space the floor and do a little bit of everything on offense. For me, Thiaro kind of reminds me of a better offensive version of Dorian Finney-Smith. So to me, I absolutely love that fit for him. He can play the 3, which is nice because he does have that, little bit more athleticism to his game. But overall, I absolutely love that fit for him.
Boston's back up at 32. Do they take the guy I thought they were going to take last round, or what does Boston do with 32? Is still a pretty good pick. What does Boston do with it?
Yeah, and like I said, as a contending team, when you have 2 picks, that's beautiful for you because you can go with a high upside player, and then you could go with the seniority, a guy that you can plug in right away. And that for me is Johni Broome. Why not go ahead and take the best college basketball player this past season, in terms of regular season at least? A double-double machine, very efficient, can space the floor. Kind of reminds me of a little bit of Miles Turner, but a bit more athletic, right? He's not as stagnant on the feet, but a guy that can put the ball on the floor and create his own shot, can space the floor, can hit a catch and shoot 3 from the corner. Defensively, very solid, very good rebounder, can redirect shots at the rim. I think that this is an immediate plug-and-play type of guy, a guy that could be the Al Horford replacement if he is to retire this year or next. So I absolutely love that fit for them there.
All right. Let's move on to Charlotte at 33.
Yeah, and they got back-to-back picks, I believe. So give them Bogo and then give them Isaiah Evans. I think those are 2 really good fits for them there. Go ahead.
Isaiah Evans is going in the draft. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, why not, right? Go ahead and get 3 wings. You got VJ Edgecombe, Isaiah Evans, and you got Bogo. These are all 3 high upside guys. all of them are great fits. Bogo can do a little bit of everything on the offensive end, but with his height and his versatility, he's very solid defensively. Isaiah Evans, one of those 3-and-D caliber players, one of the best three-point mechanics in this year's draft class, something that teams are expecting to translate very well into being one of the higher percentage three-point shooters in terms of efficiency. And then VJ, of course, as your two-way guy who has the star upside at the two-guard spot. So I think that's a great draft class for Charlotte if they're able to get that done.
The big winners of the draft, Philly took Cooper Flag at 1. They won our lottery here. They're back up on 35. So if they got Cooper Flag, is Embiid gone? Do they move Embiid, or they try to win with both of them?
I think they try and win one more year. I think they try and win one more year. I think they give it one more year with George and Embiid. And if it doesn't work out, then guess what? You have Maxey, you have Jared McCain, and you got Cooper Flag to build around, right? They have that 2027 pick that we currently own of theirs, but it's top 8 protected, right? So if they're at that point where they can be a bottom 8 team in basketball and get that pick again, their rebuild's kind of done, right? They have Maxey, who's an all-star. They have Flag, who's going to be an all-star. McCain, probably going to be one of those high upside third, fourth options on a team. I think that would be a good position for them.
Let me. I want to ask 2 questions about that. So, if they wait another year on Embiid, like I said, they should have traded him before this season started. If they wait another year, the whole you're getting in return is going to be substantially cut every year that he gets older. You know what I'm saying? So it's like they're not going to win a championship. Paul George's shot. They're not going to win a championship. Do you just cut your losses now and move Embiid? Because what I'm going to get for him next year is going to pale in comparison to what I can get from this year.
I think at some point in time, especially if you land Flag to put alongside Maxey, it really doesn't matter the return that you get, right? Because also look at the draft capital that Philly has. They own 2 of the Clippers' future first-round picks, and the Clippers have a very short window. They maybe have 2 years left where they're not a lottery team, right? So for Philly, this is the best position to be in. If you land Flag to pair up with Maxey, you have your top 8 protected pick in 2027. Let's just say that hits. And you also have 2 Clippers future first round picks between, I believe, 2027 and 2030. It's 2 picks within those years. Those are 2 lottery picks as well. So they would be in a very, very quick rebuild. They'd likely be in playing contention by the time, in 2028. I mean, even if not earlier, like realistically, Cooper Flag and Maxey could be a play-in team very quickly, especially depending on the returns that you get for Embiid and George. So it really doesn't matter to them.
We talked about the top 8 protection on the pick that the Nets pick with Maxey, with McCain, with Cooper Flag.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to think that pick is top 8. I mean, but we also thought the same thing about why would a team with Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey be a top 5 pick? And in this lottery they get number 1. So you never know what's going to happen. But I definitely agree. I don't think a team that consists of those 3 young players is not a play-in team. So to me, that pick, it could be between 6 through 12 for me. It really depends on how they construct the roster around them, injuries, and whether they take their tank seriously or not. Do they want to add another top 5 pick to Flag and Maxey, or are they content with McCain, Maxey, and Flag and just build around them with the returns that they get for Embiid and George? It really just depends on what the route they're looking to take.
We're talking about Embiid. George, $50 million, and he sucks. What kind? I mean, I know he's a Hall of Fame caliber player, but he's shot. He's actually the only player. Yeah.
If I'm being honest, I think a perfect trade for them is a Paul George for Bradley Beal swap. Beal is on an expiring contract. It frees up $50 million. And it also provides Phoenix with a better wing fit for Devin Booker. Like, I don't think Paul George is completely done. I think there's still some upside in him. Do I think he's at the level where he can still be an all-star? No. But do I see him where, like Klay Thompson on the Mavericks? Yes. I think he could still be a third option behind a Devin Booker and somebody else. So I kind of like that swap for them. Philly gets a guy on an expiring contract to free up cap space long term, and Phoenix makes Devin Booker happy and retools the roster around him to where they can still hopefully contend. I think that's definitely a deal that could be looked into very shortly. I think we lost Gary. Let's see. Yeah, Gary's gone. Hold on, he's coming back, fellas. Hopefully the draft doesn't reset, because that would suck. But yeah, if you guys want, real quickly, while we're waiting for Gary to come back, drop some comments. Let us know what you're thinking so far of the mock draft. What would you change? For those of you who are just joining, the Nets selected Jeremiah Fears at 7, Sorber in a trade up at 17, Asengu at 19, and Will Riley at 27.
That was me, guys. That was on me. I thought it was on you. It was on me.
I was going to say it's been cutting out a bit here and there. Are you still? Is that storm still hitting you guys pretty hard?
I should have restarted
at the beginning. Yeah,
I closed out everything. I can just pull it back up, right? The
mock draft.
Yeah,
I hope so. I mean, if not, we've gone a long way. We're kind of all right, but hopefully it comes up, because there's definitely some picks that are still on the board, like Boogie Flan, RJ Lewis, that could definitely be interesting depending on where they go.
All right.
I think Maxime Reynaud's still on the board, Drake Powell, Noah Penda, if I'm not mistaken. There's still some high value guys in that early second round.
All right, hang on. Let me get this pulled up. That's my bad, y'all. All right, how do I get back to the draft?
Click on Tools.
Tools.
Go to Mock Draft Simulator.
I think I messed this up. I'm sorry, y'all.
Wait, we have life.
No,
we've got life.
Here we go.
Bang, we're back.
Who do we take with? Yeah, see, easy breezy. Who do we take? Who did Philly take at 35?
We didn't have them take anybody just yet. Now that I'm thinking, yeah, go Alex Condon. I mean, it's a backup big for the inevitable
departure of
Joel Embiid injury.
Yeah,
but yeah, again, a guy that he's not overly old in terms of college. You know, he's only a sophomore, but he also has a little bit of experience playing on a winning team. I think that's really good value for him. He could go as early as, as 28 to the Celtics in the first round. Getting him at 35, I think that's a really good fit for them.
All right, Minnesota's back up. Minnesota's had a good draft. Thero and Lindenborg so far. This would be the third pick of the draft. It's a good draft for them. This is our pick, actually. Yeah.
How do you not take Boogie Flan here, right? They got Rob Dillingham last year, but Mike Conley is on his way out. Flan still has upside. I don't see why not taking him here. You already got two great fits and replacements for guys like Naz Reid and potentially Julius Randle if he decides to leave. But being able to grab a high upside point guard next to Dillingham is definitely something that I could see being very beneficial for them, especially knowing that they could potentially package one of those two young point guards in a deal later on for a secondary star to put alongside Anthony Edwards. So I absolutely love the fit there. You get your two guys that you can plug in right away, and you get a late second round steal who is a guy who was projected as early as, just outside the lottery not too long ago before his injury. I love the fit there for that.
All right. 37 is Detroit's the only pick of the draft, I believe, correct?
I believe so. And I think because of that, we're actually going to do a trade back for them where they get 2 second-round picks. So let's look into Washington and Utah. I believe those are two teams that have multiple second-round picks in this one. Let's see, Washington. They only have just one right now.
40, yeah.
What about Utah?
What was the other team you said? Utah?
Yeah.
They got 43. You want to swap that?
Yeah, swap that. Give both of those up for 37, yeah. All right, and so Utah's up here. They could go point guard now, or they could go more wing depth. Let's go with Tahad Pettiford. Why not? Let's go with a point guard for them. It is a position of need in terms of what draft boards are listing, but I think this is good value for him. I don't like the height on him. but I definitely think that there is some upside as a backup point guard. So why not take the little bit of value and risk on him? He's brings a ton of energy at his height. I mean, you're looking there at 6'1", he's doing East Bay dunks. Like, how do you?
Clearly an athlete. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's not your average 6'1", and the shot creation that he's able to provide with his ball handling is definitely something that is a bit different from what Isaiah Collier and Keontae George do. Right, George has a more smoothness to his game where he's not overly shifty, but also can't score at an excessively high rate. And Collier can't score at all. I mean, he's just a flat out playmaker. So why not grab a guy who's very explosive in terms of ball handling, finishing ability at the rim, and just as an all around scorer. So I absolutely love that pick for them there.
All right, we move on. We're back to Portland, who took Colin Murray Boyles at 14. Portland's back on the clock.
Yeah, and again, this is a tough pick. These are two guys that probably should not be on the board right now, and that's Noah Penda and Maxime Reynaud. They still have DeAndre Ayton and Donovan Klingons and Robert Williams. So do they really go with a backup big? They have Denny Avila. They still have Jeremy Grant until they get him traded. I think you got to go with wing depth still, and I think Noah Penda is a really good, valuable pick here. High upside defensive player, just really high caliber defensively. And when you have guys like Scoot, Shaedon Sharpe, who aren't really great defensive players, why not pair a really good defensive duo in Colin Murray Boyles and Noah Penda for this year's draft class? Kind of just building a very balanced roster in terms of scoring and offensive ability mixed with, defensive ability as well.
Toronto, Maluak at 8. Yeah, so we should have him take the big at 8. They're sitting in a good spot here.
Yeah. I feel like you kind of have to go again with just the upside of a player, right? When you have Scotty Barnes, Brandon Ingram, you still currently have Quickley and RJ Barrett, so you don't know what's going on there. You have your offensive pieces in terms of scoring. The scoring load is on those 4 guys as of right now, right? Like Ingram can give you 25, RJ can give you 20, Barnes can give you 18, Quickley can give you 16. That's already 70, 80 plus points just from those 4 players combined. So for me, I think you're looking more so again for guys who can be defensive role players, and that to me is Drake Powell. I think that this is a really good wing depth for them. And let's just say there is a world where they do trade RJ Barrett. He could play the 2, but do I see him starting in year 1, maybe even year 2? No. But in terms of the upside that he brings, I mean, this was a guy who was projected lottery when he was coming out of high school. So the upside is still there, and I think Toronto is definitely a team that could utilize him very well.
Yeah, what's his wingspan?
That's a great.
He looks huge. Like his wingspan looks massive for a guy his size. Look at his arms.
Let's see, Drake Powell wingspan. He has. Does it show it on Tankathon? It does not. Trying to find the wingspan. I can't really seem to find it.
Yeah. That's all good. I was just wondering.
Yeah, you would have to think it's a couple inches more than his actual height.
Yeah, I can't find his wingspan. Yeah, it's 24/7. Noticed the same thing I did. Very long arms. Yeah, I mean that's like
I'm looking on NBA Draft Room and they have NA as the wingspan and reach, so right. It hasn't been measured yet. But yeah, I mean, the upside for him defensively is there. The offensive upside is something that needs to be unlocked. And I think Toronto behind Brandon Ingram and Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett, that could definitely be something that's found. So I absolutely love that pick for them.
40 is Washington. This is their final pick, I believe. They got Ace Bailey and Nolan Traore already. So, I mean, they've had a good draft. This is 40.
And this is the perfect way to end it. Look at the top 2 guys on the board. We said it earlier, if Sorber had made it to 18, they would go Sorber. And now you have the 2 best big men in the second round available and falling into your lap. It depends on really what they need. Do they want a defensive big man who can be a good shot blocker and and a high caliber rebounder in Maxime Reynaud, or do they want Ryan Kalkbrenner, who's a bit skinnier, not as much of a threat down low in terms of being able to guard a guy like Embiid or Jalen Duren or somebody of that nature, but can space the floor and be a better offensive player? To me, they have that in Alex Sarr. So to me, I think you go Maxime Reynaud here. I believe he was averaging like 19 and 11 or 19 and 12, something crazy like that. Yeah, 20 and 11.
20 and 11.
Yeah, I think that's great value for them there at 40, being able to grab that backup big man.
Golden State. This is Golden State's only pick of the draft. Set the second round. It's 41. I got an idea who they would take here, but I'll let you go. Do they take the big or do they take RJ Lewis?
I mean, I think they're in a position where they're going to win now, and I'm trying to find my notebook because there's a player that I'm going blank on that isn't on the board, but somebody that I do want to take here. So let me go ahead and find that real quick because I want to say it's Milos Uzan from Houston. I believe he can play the 2, and I think that with what Golden State currently needs, it's players that can win now, right? Because you have a very short window with, Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry towards the end of their careers. So why not go ahead and grab a guy who is ready to win now? Clearly not able to find this notebook, which sucks. But yeah, go Milos Uzan. We're going to type that one in. So if you want to scroll all the way to the bottom and just select a no name, we'll type that in for them. Go with Flory Badunga because he's not. Or yeah, go Jalil Bethea. We can go Jalil Bethea. So if you click on. If you scroll down, I believe you can add a note before drafting them.
Yeah.
So if you X out of this.
Yeah. Okay.
Then scroll down a bit.
Here it is.
MILOS UZAN. And then if you want to just put in parentheses Houston. And let me just make sure I have his position right. Because if he's a shooting guard, I think that's a really good fit for them. Let's see. Yeah, 6'4" guard. So he can play the 1, he can play the 2. But again, just a two-way guy. He's a 3-year college guy. He's shooting 42.8% from 3 this year, 45.3 from the field. He averaged 11.4 points, 4.3 assists, 3.1 rebounds. Very solid defensive player as well. I think that's a great fit for them.
Who do we?
Do Jalil Bethea. I think that was the one we were looking at because he's not going in this year's draft. You can honestly select anybody in this, but yeah, I think that's All right. So the Kings are up at 42. What is the top of the board looking like currently? I know Ryan Kalkbrenner and Miles Bird.
It's Kalkbrenner, Lewis, and Miles Bird as the top 3 guys. Chaz Lanier's there too.
I would hate to see RJ Lewis go. Actually, you know what? Let's go Tyrese Proctor here. They need a point guard, right? They have Devin Carter, but they really haven't utilized him. Maybe is he a guy in a trade piece at some point in time to get another star for them? I think Proctor is a guy that you can bring in right away and a guy who could be a backup point guard, a full-time backup point guard right off the rip. So I absolutely love the pick for them there.
43. Remember, Detroit's got 2 second rounders. We traded this pick with Utah, so they traded 37 and got 2 seconds.
Okay. What's the top of the board again? It's
Kalkbrenner, Bird, and Lewis.
Bird, right? You have you have Hardaway Jr. on an expiring contract. Is Malik Beasley also on an expiring contract?
That's a good question. Let me see. Oh, they got Ivy coming back. We forgot about that. Malik Beasley, yes, he's on an expiring deal.
All right, so your 2 main shooting guards as of right now with Ivy out are on expiring deals. You would have to think Ivy regains the starting position. You have Simone Fontecchio and Ron Holland playing your 3/4s. You have Tobias Harris still under contract. So they really don't need a wing like RJ Lewis. So yeah, I absolutely love the fit for Miles Bird there. I definitely think that is the pick to go with. Again, not too much of a seasoned college veteran, but a guy who has 2 years under his belt. The efficiencies need to get a little bit better. But overall, I definitely think that that's a solid backup 2 for them long term. Kind of similar to a Malik Beasley where he can defend and he can also space the floor. So a 3-and-D guy. But at 6'7", he definitely has upside to be a little bit more. And this is OKC. Oh, my God.
Is
I was
where RJ Lewis goes?
I was gonna have them trade this pick, but how do you not go Ryan Kalkbrenner here?
Okay.
Right? Like, it's OKC. They're the biggest scumbags in terms of hoarding draft capital and picks. Like, how do you not? Right? Especially if they like, let's just say that the Giannis trade didn't happen in this and they go after Giannis. You can now give up Hartenstein, Jalen Williams, and Nikola Topic to get that deal done. And you'd be bringing in Rasheer Fleming, Walter Clayton, Ryan Kalkbrenner next to Chet, Lou Dort, SGA, Giannis. You know, like that's ridiculous. The depth.
This is a home run of a draft for them too. If this happened, they got Fleming, Clayton, and now Kalkbrenner. I mean, this is a home run for them.
These are three seniors and juniors that you can plug in immediately off the bench. Like, they can get rid of some of that youth that could be the reason why they're not making it to the finals or winning the finals, and add guys in who are immediate plug in and play ready to go guys. Like, this is ridiculous as to how successful OKC has been on draft nights. And if they were to land those three players, that would be absurd. Like, they realistically could move on from Hartenstein. I mean, is there a world where they can keep Jalen Williams? Like, if you were to give up Hartenstein, Aaron Wiggins, Nikola Topic, Isaiah Joe, and Cason Wallace for Giannis, like, you're getting rid of your youth, bringing in the superstar, and still keeping Jalen Williams next to Chet, SGA, and these three high-caliber role players that you would be bringing in through the draft. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah. OKC is set for years. Like, they're set for the immediate future, and they're set for the long term. Like, they're just set. Like, Oklahoma City, if they can keep these guys, you're talking about another dynasty. And
it's insane.
To me, I don't think the NBA wants Oklahoma City having a dynasty, which to me, it tells me that San Antonio is going to pick either one or two, and I think they're going to pick one. But we'll find, because they want to combat that dynasty, right?
If they're able to pick one, there is no reason for them to trade for Giannis, which immediately puts KC and Houston in the
Giants. Yeah, that's right. Right. Yeah, if San Antonio picks one, OKC goes, great. We'll just trade for Giannis now. You're right.
Yeah, no, it would be absolutely pathetic. Like, I mean, could you imagine a Western Conference that consists of KD, Sengun, and Amen Thompson on the Rockets? You have Giannis, SGA, and one of either Chet or Jalen Williams on OKC, and then you have Cooper Flag, De'Aaron Fox, and Wemby in San Antonio. And that's not even to mention Luka's still in LA long-term potentially.
Yeah.
You still have Golden State with Jimmy and Curry for at least 2 more years. You still have Jokic in Denver for at least 1 more year. Like, the West every year seems to get better and better. Like, for the past 3 years, I've said this is the best Western Conference, or probably conference, in any sport ever. Like, and they keep getting better every year. It's ridiculous to see what they're doing.
Yeah, the West is, San Antonio, OKC. They're in. It's going to be tough. Like, I'm glad the Nets are in the East. I'll say that.
Yeah, but at some point too, you have to think that these things are going to start transitioning over to the East. Like, when the Nets got KD and Kyrie, you know, it was just after the LeBron era of running the Eastern Conference for 10 plus years, right? So it's like you saw the emergence of Boston, you saw the emergence of Indiana starting to come back up after the Paul George era. You're seeing Miami taking over. You're seeing Cleveland starting to get better. Like you were starting to see all these things form out. Right now, you have Cleveland, New York, and Boston as your powerhouses. You're seeing Milwaukee starting to deteriorate and probably go back into a rebuild. But you're also seeing teams like Indiana, Orlando, Detroit taking those steps up. So the East is starting to get better. It's just, can they maintain it? Because every single time a player wants out of the East, they always ship him out West. And the West continues to get more and more stacked year after year. So who knows?
All right. We're at the Bulls, 45. They got Arsenal, so they got a 4 in the 12.
Who's on the top of the board outside of RJ Lewis?
Chaz Lanier, and then Australian guy and Ding Pate.
Yeah, go with Alex Tui. Go with Alex Tui. They need upside, right? Chicago's in that rebuild stage. Go with the young upside guy. He's been compared to Bojan Bogdanovic. The one that
I don't know what position Chicago's in. All I know is I never want to be in Chicago's position. That's all I know. I don't know what they're doing.
I agree. I feel like we're kind of already there though. And this is this Orlando's last, or do they have one more pick after this? Jesus. Yeah, go RJ Lewis. Go best available guy that you can plug in right away. Again, a guy that can space the floor, a guy that can do a little bit of everything on the offensive end and can be a physical rebounder. I think that's a great fit for them.
Milwaukee is up 47th pick.
Okay.
I know this, I don't want to be in their position.
Yeah, and see, this is kind of where it gets tough because as you can see, 4 out of the 5 guys on the board that you're showing us right now are seniors, right? Zion James, Caleb Love, Chaz Lanier, these are all seniors. I think Micah Peavy's a senior.
Yeah.
I don't hate Rocco Zikarsky here. Brooke Lopez on his way out, either retiring or leaving in free agency. It's definite that he's not coming back. You know, I don't think we gave them a center in the Giannis trade, right? We gave him Devin Vassell, Jeremy Sochan, and Keldon Johnson.
Yep.
Yeah, go Rocco Zikarsky here.
Is Zikarsky a shooter or what's his game? I don't know this guy.
He can do a little bit of everything. Like he does have high upside. This was a guy who was projected late first round 6 months ago. So for him to be still available here, I definitely think that he has more upside than a Maxime Reynaud or a Ryan Kalkbrenner. But in terms of the downside, there's definitely a risk there. But that kind of comes with overseas guys, though, because 9 times out of 10, you're going to be scouting more guys from, in state rather than out of the country. So I definitely think that's a high upside pick for Milwaukee. If they can land Harper and Zikarsky while also adding, Vassell, Jeremy Sochan, like that's a good start to your rebuild, especially with the picks that they were able to get from San Antonio as well. So absolutely love that for them.
All right, at 48, Memphis has their only pick.
No brainer, Chaz Lanier.
Yeah,
go with the high upside scorer.
This is a guy I like a lot. I mean, if he falls to 48, that's a steal, right? At 48,
yeah, you would have
a bucket.
Think.
Yeah,
you would have to think. I mean, he can score at will. That is for sure. You may know him a little bit more based on how you kind of talked him up. Do you know what his defensive upside is?
I just watching him play in the SEC, you just notice his scoring. I don't know much about his defense, but as a bucket getter at 48, I mean, that's the way we took him up. It was 48.
Yeah,
as an offensive talent, he's a first round talent for sure. I mean, I don't know much about him defensively, but he scored all 3 levels. He can score at will. It's a scorer. Yeah.
All right, interesting. I was able to finally find the notebook, so hopefully I can find my updated draft board. I think I had it in here. All right, here we go. Am I missing anybody that I would have taken so far? Caravan is off the board because he is no longer in the draft, so I can clear that off. We already took Bogo. All right, all those guys are gone. Yeah, we're pretty much on track. I mean, the only guy that probably is getting drafted that isn't on Fanspo is Sergio Delaria, the Spanish point guard from Spain. But we'll see where we end up taking him. All right, so Cleveland is up here. Oh my, perfect fit.
They got 2 second-round picks. They pick again at 59, so they got 2 picks here.
Perfect fit. Go Zion James. This is a perfect fit for them. Like 6'6", 6'7", high-end 3-and-D caliber player. Like this is a guy that you can plug in immediately off the bench as like a LeVert replacement since they traded him. That's perfect for them. I don't even have to go much into the depth for that.
The New York Knicks. I don't know what they do here.
I
guess a big
tough spot. There's no more bigs. No more bigs.
Yeah,
Thomas Hawes is not on the board anymore. He's going back to college. I mean, they can go Hanson Yang, but I have him as like an undrafted rookie that they could just sign.
They're in a tough spot here.
This is definitely a tough spot for them. I mean, let's just think about the roster, right? If they are to fall to Detroit somehow in this first round, you would have to think Mikal and OG are being packaged for a star, right? I don't know how they get it done because of the picks that they don't have, but you would have to think they try and do something, right?
OG is such a crucial part of that. I guess you got to trade OG, right? I was going to say try to trade Cat, but I guess Brunson and Cat. OG is so vital to that team.
I know. It's a tough position to be in.
Bridges and Cat is $73 million. Yeah.
Like I don't think they take Dink. It's such a funny name. Like
This
do
is
they?
a
I
tough
don't
spot
hate
for him.
Micah Peavy here, right? Because he can play the 2 and the 3. It says, is he a shooting guard / small forward?
That's what it says. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Kadari
don't
Richmond.
They have what's his name, the white kid that they took in the second round, Tyler Kolek,
Oh
as
yeah.
like the backup.
But they keep playing Cameron Payne, who's god awful. Like
I
Cameron Payne
know.
can't be in any more playoff games. No more
I
playoff
know.
games for him.
No, he can keep it up. Yeah, I don't hate Micah Peavy here for them. I really don't. Let's go Micah Peavy. He can do a little bit of everything. High upside scorer, good defender, 3-and-D guy in this league. Can be an immediate plug-in role player. I like that for them.
All right. The Clippers they took Cam Jones with the last pick, who I like. Cam Jones with the last pick in the first round. Okay. What do they do with the second round pick?
What pick is this? Are we at 51 now?
It's 51, yeah.
Like, the question is, do they go back up big for Zubac and draft high on Hansen Yang, the Chinese center? Or do they take a backup point guard in Kadari Richmond?
I want Kadari Richmond to go somewhere, so I was rooting for him.
Yeah, let's go Kadari Richmond. Why not? I usually have him going to Cleveland, but yeah, I love that pick for him.
All right, and then at 52, Phoenix is back on the clock. They took Hugo Gonzalez late in the first round. Again, this is all going to be: do they trade Beal? Do they Grant? What are they doing around Booker moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, well, think about it. We kind of just mocked the Houston trade for KD, right? Where they got Jalen Green, they got Reed Shepherd. So they have guards now. They don't really need guards. They have to continue going with wings or bigs. I don't hate Hansen Yang here. I think that's what we're going to do. We're going to give him a big man. I believe he's in between 7 foot and 7'2".
Yeah, they got him listed at 7'1".
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to be able to see stats because he's overseas. I can try pulling them up real quick. Hansen Yang stats. He's averaging 16 points, 10 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 blocks per game. He actually shooting 29% from 3 as well, so there's some upside there. He's shooting 59.5% from the field, so he's a good finisher at the rim as well. Yeah, I don't hate that pick for them. I think they need a big. They have Nick Richards, but they really don't have anybody else. So why not go ahead and grab a high upside big? I think that's a good fit for them.
All right, we move on. What are we at? 53.
And it's Detroit again, which
Detroit. They just took Miles Bird. Yeah.
Let's see who is on the board. I don't think they really need more spacing. They got enough of that, so they don't need Peyton Sandford. Not going Jalen Lowe for them. Kobe Brio would have been nice, but they already got Bird. You'd have to think they're going wing here, right?
That's what I was thinking. But you don't want to go Kobe Bria?
No, can't go Kobe Bria because he's an undersized 2.
Stojakovic is going back to school, right?
Yeah. I mean, a guy that's not on my board, I don't know if he's still eligible. You know what? Type it in. We'll go point guard for them here. We'll go Sergio Delaria. He's not on the board, so if you want, use Elliott. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So if you scroll down again to
here.
Yeah. Oh, can you add the note in there?
I can.
Okay, so it's Sergio Sergio.
Spell it. Let's let me get S. Yeah, Sergio. What's?
And then it's De, so DE, and then space, and then Laria, LARREA. Spanish point guard. I'll pull up his resume as well. Mock drafts have him in the top 40. I don't agree whatsoever with it. He's currently averaging 6 points, 2 rebounds, 2.5 assists. He's shooting 49% from the field, 45.5% from 3.
So he can shoot, shooter. Yeah.
I don't know if it's because he's young and he just doesn't really get the touches that he should be seeing, but at 6'5", I mean, this is a combo guard. I definitely can see some upside with him there. So, they already got Bird, who they can plug in immediately. Why not get a project player and a potential backup point guard for Cade long term?
No, agree. Indy's back up. Indy took Danny Wolf late in the first round. They're back up at 54. So they got a big. They go to backup point guard here.
Like, you have to think they're another team that's trading for a star at some point, right? Like, are they going for Sabonis again? Are they going to bring him back? Like, they got to do something.
Yeah.
Because they have too much wing depth. They have Obi, they have Aaron Nesmith, they have Benedict Mathurin, Jarris Walker. Like, they have way too much wing depth. And they also have too much guard depth. They have Nembhard, they have McConnell, they have Halliburton. Like, they have a lot. So you have to think they're making a move for somebody at some point. I mean, could that be the team that goes for Aaron for OG Anunoby, right? Like, they could package up.
He would make a lot of sense for him, yeah.
Yeah, they could package up like 3 wing depth players and go ahead and add OG as the high caliber defensive player now that, Miles Turner may be gone. So I kind of like Caleb Love here.
I figured that too. That makes a lot of sense.
It's a bit different from the guards that they have because they really don't have a microwave scoring guard. Like, Halliburton's too inconsistent. Nembhard is just a role player. McConnell, he's aging, and he was never really a scorer to begin with. So yeah, I don't hate that pick for them.
Let's talk about. We're just talking about the Knicks. If the Knicks are trading OG, if the Knicks do lose, and I still think they're going to win in 7. My official prediction before the series started with Knicks in 7. You can kind of see Detroit is just as good as the Knicks, and the Knicks are starting to get a little banged up. It's not out of the. I'm still picking the Knicks in 7. I think Detroit wins game 6 in Detroit, and it goes to 7. And I'm going to take the Knicks on their experience. But let's live in the world where Detroit upsets them, comes back down from 3-1, wins that series. Tibbs is gone, right? Tibbs is fired immediately.
You'd have to think, right? Especially with
do they break the rest of it up? Is it Brunson and Cat and everything else is for sale?
I would have to think so, yeah. I think Josh Hart stays because he's just their
Hart would stay too, yeah.
Their locker room, glue guy. But everybody else, yeah, I think would be available.
This is going to work out well for the Nets with those 2029 and 2031 picks. Like, this is going to work out well for them.
Yeah. I mean, is it crazy to think OG to the Lakers for Rui, Austin Reeves, and somebody else? Like, that could be something of interest as well, because realistically, you have Luka and LeBron. LeBron at one point in time was a great defender. He's aging. He's showing his age. It's really not been great defensively for him. And Luka's probably the worst defender in basketball. I love Luka, but he genuinely is.
He is getting picked on. Yeah, it's becoming abuse now.
Yeah. So I mean,
one last thing about the Knicks to note
makes sense.
If they call that, and look, I'm not complaining about the no foul call on was it Hardaway that shot? Who was it that took it? Was Hardaway, right?
Hardaway that took it. Hart that fouled. Hart that admitted to it. The final 2 minute report showed it.
If they call that foul, the Knicks are probably done in this series. They're probably down 3-1.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
can you say that though? Because it would be 2-2 heading back to Detroit. So do they lose game 5?
Or no, they would be. This is game 6. They'd be down 3-2.
Meaning, though, if they were to lose game 4 at home, does Detroit come back and play with that same mentality to win game 5 like they did, or do they lose that and go down 3-2? That's where it kind of comes into question. So I don't know if I can really make the assumption that they're definitely losing that game just because they did in real life. If it's a 2-2 series, that kind of changes the mentality of it. So I don't know. But yeah, no, it definitely makes the argument that if that foul was called, this whole series has changed.
All right, so we got the Lakers at 50, almost done here, 55.
Yeah, this is tough. Like I said, I think they're going for Claxton. So you would have to think either they
still need a big though, because Jackson Hayes can't play. So even if you have Claxton, I still think you need another big. You need a backup big, right?
Like, yeah, I don't hate Michael Brusick here. Like, he's 6'10", 6'11", so he can play the 5 if needed. Let me see him play. I really haven't watched anything on him. I believe he's a floor spacer too. Let's see.
I guess that's him. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a pretty shot, but for a big, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're looking at Rasheer Fleming at 6'9", 6'10", being able to do what he does, it makes it kind of look really bad. But yeah, I mean, look, he can put the ball on the floor. He can do a little bit of everything.
I can't even. It's like watching hockey. In hockey, I can never follow the puck. There's too many white guys. I can't figure out which one he is. All right. Yeah, the shot's it's a little long developing, right? That's going to get blocked a lot.
Yeah.
It's a nice touch.
I mean,
he's got
but
nice
he
touch.
can, he's showing that he can score from all 3 levels of the floor. It's not
Yeah.
bad whatsoever. He can catch and shoot from mid-range. He can put the ball on the floor and create a mid-range. He's shown that he can hit a 3, whether that's catch and shoot or off the dribble. He finishes at the rim well. Yeah, I kind of like this pick for them. I definitely don't hate that. Cleans up the glass nicely. Yeah, I mean, yeah, go with it. I don't mind that at all. Especially if they're able to get Claxton. You know, that's definitely an interesting pick for them.
All right. The Knicks are back up. Oh, this pick is a forfeit. So what do you want to do with this?
Yeah.
Yeah. For cheating.
You know what?
Cheated, of course.
We're just gonna call this as an undrafted rookie. Go Hunter Silas here. He's on the top of the board at 3. Yeah.
Okay.
Backup point guard. We'll just say we'll say, you know, they get him in undrafted as an undrafted rookie. But I love that fit for them. He can play the 1 and he can play the 2. He's 6'5", so he's a combo guard. I definitely don't hate that for him.
Memphis at 57.
And again, this is a team that's in question on whether or not Ja Morant's going to be there or not. Marvin Bagley's a free agent. They already got their 2/3. Why not go with some upside here? This is a guy who was projected late first, early second a couple of months ago, and he's really fallen. Go Dink Pate here. They have Vince Williams, they have Gigi, but you know, maybe they include one of those guys in a Ja trade to get more assets back in return. I definitely don't hate that pick for him.
Orlando is up again. They're picking nonstop here. So they got Jace Richards, Nick Clifford, and RJ Lewis so far.
Yeah, and again, you gotta go floor spacing and shooting, right? I'm down to Kobe Bria or Peyton Sandfort. I think Sandfort's the better fit because they already have Nick Clifford and Jace Richardson. So yeah, go Peyton here. I definitely think that's a solid pick for him.
2 picks left in the draft. Cleveland at 59.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of any of the point guards that are on the board. I think they're too small for what Cleveland likes, especially since they have Garland already, who's a defensive liability. There's no bigs on the board that I like, so I'm not giving them one of those. You would have to think it's a wing here. I don't hate Aaron Scott, but how do you pass on Kobe Bria? I think Sion can play the 3. Yeah, so go Kobe Bria here. Sion could play the 3 if needed.
And the final pick in the draft is Houston.
Yeah, go Aaron Scott. It's a perfect fit. Defensive menace.
No Jalen Lowe in this draft.
Yeah, I mean, with the forfeited pick, it definitely hurts. And before we forget anything, can you go up and click Save Draft? We're gonna call this updated mock draft 5/1/2025. This way I can have it saved.
Oh, Save
right
Draft
there above the app. Yeah, and then you
what do you want to call it?
Updated full 2-round mock draft 5/1/2025.
Yep.
I think that's an incredible draft. I mean, we missed out on Otego Wu from Kentucky. I don't know if he's declared for the draft or if he's going back or not, which is kind of why I left him out. If he was available, then he's definitely in that 50 through 60 range. But overall, I mean, that is every time we do this, we always say it, but that is by far our best mock draft so far. 100%.
So this was a post is what you want me to do with this?
Yes. Yep. So that'll save to my profile. I'll post that on Twitter later. So this way, those of you who want to go back and recap the full 2-round mock, we'll do it that way.
So I want to, again, we got Fears, Sorber. If we get Fears and Sorber, I'm okay with it. It's not Cooper. It's not Dylan Harper, which we wanted, but if we get Fears and Sorber, we've got something, right? Like right now, my problem with the Nets is we have nothing but bad contracts. We have arguably the worst contract in basketball in Nick Claxton and overpay in Cam Johnson, and Cam Thomas can't stay healthy. So we have nothing. We only have bad. Like there's nothing good on our roster. If we got Sorber and Fears, I think Fears has the potential to be an all-star point guard. I feel like we have something, right? Like it's not completely hopeless now. right? Like it's like right now, I feel like the Nets are unemployed with a negative account a negative balance in their bank accounts. Like this, we got nothing. Like all we have is bad. If we got these two, we got something, right? We've got something.
I mean, I think all 4 of those picks have high upside. I think the minimum upside that the last 2 picks have is rotational role players. Like Sengun and Will Riley could be the Cam Johnson, Zaire Williams replacements long term. I definitely think each of those picks that we have all has a positive with a low negative risk. Like Sorber could be the starting big man at some point in time. If not, he's the backup to Day'Ron until we find a big time center, maybe like a star. Jeremiah Fears to me has star potential. I think that he is the long-term point guard and future all-star of this selection that we took. Will Riley as the Cam Johnson replacement. Noah Sengu, high upside, could be a 4th, 5th option if properly developed. Whether that be as a starter or one of the first guys off the bench. I definitely think this is a home run draft class for Brooklyn. So I'm absolutely loving it.
If we could do this and the trade, I didn't even see you put. I guess you put this late last night. This Claxton trade.
Yeah.
And you use the old school Nets logo, my favorite Nets logo. Good job on that. Kudos to you.
I was gonna say, yeah, this is my new mock trade template that I just made. So be on the lookout for this all off season. I'm actually going to be working on my mock off season 3.0. I do these once every week and a half, 2 weeks up until free agency begins. Similar to how I did the mock drafts. I think I'm on number 11. It will be so. Definitely keep an eye on those. If you don't follow me on Instagram already, feel free to follow me at Nets Press. That's where all my content goes.
We're gonna try to do 1 or 2 of these a week. We're gonna try to just to stay active with these mocks, right?
Definitely. I mean, I would break it down into 1 mock draft per week and 1.
We'll do 1 a week.
Yeah. Do 1 mock draft a week, 1 off season mock up per week, and then just to kind of go over everything, whether it be free agents, trades, draft, kind of build it all into one. I definitely think that's a good little schedule to go off of, especially with the off season. It's so tough when you're knocked out so early and you don't have as much content to build. So I definitely think spacing it out makes it a bit better.
All right. So your schedule, we'll do at least 2 shows a week. I'll try to bring Pete on once in a while. Get a show with him. Try to give you guys 3 or 4 shows. So this is not much to talk about, like Dylan said. Does Sunday work for you? Or what? I'm loaded with boxing on Friday and Saturday.
This weekend I'm a bit busy, so why don't we shoot for either Monday or Tuesday? I'll take the weekend off because it's the wife's birthday on Saturday, so we'll be celebrating that Saturday and Sunday.
All right, cool. So you want to come back? What is today? Today's Thursday?
Today is Thursday, the 1st. We are officially in May. 11 days away from draft lottery night.
There we go.
I was going to say, are we going live for that as well?
I imagine we have to, right? Like we have to. I
mean, cameras on, beers out. It's got to be a special occasion because we're either going to flip out or we're going to flip out, and it's either going to be positive or negative. So
if we I don't drink anymore, and I haven't drank in I don't know a couple of years. If we land 1 or 2, maybe I'll break that streak.
We'll go with a
Are you coming to the draft? Oh, are you coming on June? What is it? 26th? Are you coming to the draft?
I don't have tickets for it, nor am I fully committed to it yet. I got to see what happens with work-related stuff.
Yeah,
I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to stay up for almost a full 2 months, but we'll see. My goal is to be there. I don't know how I'm going to get there because I'm looking at pricing right now for it, and it's fucking ridiculous. So
what's the prices?
I saw the NBA's offering packages, and the least expensive one is like $1,500. But that's
Get the hell out of here.
Yeah, that's for like package experiences though. SeatGeek and all of them don't have specific ticket sales up just yet. I don't know when they officially come out. You would have to think it's around draft lottery night, if not just after. But
if you're, I'm planning on coming there. If
I think I saw Ticketmaster selling them, but even then, it was like up top seats for like $175.
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, let me double check to see if Ticketmaster has them up yet. Yeah, it says no upcoming events. So there's no actual tickets just yet available for the draft outside of the packages that the NBA is offering, which is a fucking crime. So
yeah, I'm not paying $1,500 for it. Yeah.
yeah.
And we'll see if the Nets draft 9. I'm gonna have a lot less enthusiasm. If they draft, top 5.
No,
Yeah,
I
let's see
agree.
where they draft. If they draft 9, I'm not going. If they draft 11 or 9, I'm not going. I'm not gonna sit there and.
Well, the lowest we can get, I think, is 9.
Okay.
Realistically, we are in the range of 2 through 8. I would say. I think it's either 2, 4, 6, 7, or 8. I don't see us getting 4. I don't see us getting 5. I don't see us getting 9. So I think it's within
4, 6, or 7. Well, at least 4 or 6. We're drafting the same guy, right? We're taking Fears.
I don't know. If you're at 4, if VJ gets selected 3, you're going 8.
Oh, yeah,
right? But if
true.
Ace is off the board, now it comes down to, do you take VJ, who isn't as good of a fit, or do you trade back and go with Fears at like 6 or 7? I think it really depends. So we'll see. I mean, but at the same time, every analyst, Sean Marks himself, they're all saying it's going to be a best available draft selection. So hopefully it's the right selection, though, because I would definitely be disappointed to see us pass on Fears or even more draft capital by trading back and taking Edgecombe. I just don't know if it's a long-term fit, but we'll see. We'll find out in 11 days when we figure out where our pick exactly is, and then we'll actually be able to do some more accurate draft mock drafts. So it'll be fun.
All right, it's a week and a half away, roughly. All right, Dylan, we'll be back on Monday. Is that Monday?
Monday or Tuesday.
Monday
I got to
see
what time I get home Monday because I'll be with her Saturday through Monday morning. So we'll see if I get back in time Monday, but if not, definitely Tuesday.
All right, yeah. Well, you want to just shoot for Tuesday? I mean,
let's do Tuesday.
All right, sounds good. We'll be back on Tuesday. I'm going to reach out to Pete, and I might go live with Pete. I just don't know what the hell we're going to talk about. I'm running out of things to talk about. And once we find out where we're drafting, I want to start looking at some of those top 10, top 12 prospects. Let's just do a little deep dive into all the guys that we may take. We're getting to Sorber. We're getting to
I was going to say I have it in the notebook on who specifically at which pick I would take and the ranges of some of the players that I'm eyeing. So we'll definitely break down more of this as we get closer. But if you want, we have a week and a half until the draft. Let's shoot for one more full 2-round mock, and then we'll shoot for one just Nets specific mock where we just select the Nets picks. We let the auto draft take over, and we'll see who gets taken ahead of our picks and see who's available for ours.
Sounds good.
All right.
We'll be back on Tuesday. Dylan, you want to close this out?
Go for it, man. I can't take the Texas to the world. Come on.
All right. Appreciate y'all. It's May 1st, 2025, from Texas to the world. Thank y'all, and God bless.
Later.
All right.
Hell of an episode.
Wait, hang on. It's StreamYard is still StreamYarding.